Donald Trump has made two more key appointments ahead of his return to the White House in January. Tom Homan will serve as Trump's border czar, having previously been the returning president's acting director of immigration and customs enforcement. New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik has also been made ambassador to the United Nations. Meanwhile, Mr. Trump's Republican Party are edging closer to full control of the US Congress. They already have a majority in the Senate and need to win just a handful of seats to take the House of Representatives. Well, let's speak to our correspondent Jessica Parker, who's at West Palm Beach in Florida. So, Jessica, it's quite busy there, isn't it? We now know a bit more about these appointments. How significant are the latest ones?
Yes, hello from Florida, West Palm Beach, where we're hearing this drip of appointments coming from Mar-a-Lago, nicknamed the Winter White House, as Donald Trump starts making these key appointments. As you were mentioning, one of those, Elise Stefanik, going to be the ambassador to the United Nations, important role in terms of projecting Donald Trump's thoughts on foreign and security policy, a senior House Republican, New York Congresswoman, and somebody who once upon a time was a Trump skeptic, but has now for many years been a loyal advocate and supporter of Donald Trump. And there has been all this talk about loyalty potentially being rewarded in the future Trump administration. And then as well, Tom Homan being appointed as this kind of border czar role, as they're putting it. Now, of course, immigration, a hard line on immigration, particularly on the southern border, was a centerpiece of Donald Trump's campaign. And Tom Homan is somebody who has played a role in the previous Trump administration in immigration. He's somebody who was an early supporter of what was known as the sort of zero tolerance policy that led to the separation of families, something that was very controversial, of course, at the time. He was asked, Mr. Homan, about this and whether a tough immigration policy had to lead to the separation of families. He said families could potentially be deported together. He is a former border force official, policeman as well, and I think this reflects certainly, again, this idea of loyalty, but also the kind of hard line that Donald Trump has said he wants to take on immigration.
Meanwhile, the vote counting continues for the House of Representatives, and it's starting to look like it is going to go Trump's way.
Yeah, Republicans feeling pretty confident about the House of Representatives, but the result hasn't been finalised yet as to who will take control there. They're obviously hoping to retain control of the House, and they've already won control of the Senate. And there's going to be a lot of focus on the Senate this week, because what you're going to see is the election of the Senate Majority Leader. Now, this is not something that Donald Trump has directly weighed into, in the sense that he hasn't endorsed a particular candidate. However, what he has said is he wants to see whoever takes that role, a really important role, to potentially use the process known as recess appointments, pretty complicated thing, but essentially to fast track appointments that he wants to make to his government. And what you've got there is three potential contenders: John Cornyn, John Thune and Rick Scott. Now, the two Johns, they are people who were or have acted as deputies to the outgoing Senate Majority or the outgoing man, Mitch McConnell, the senior Republican in the Senate, whereas Rick Scott seen more as potentially somebody who is closely connected to the MAGA movement, Make America Great Again, has racked up some endorsements in that area. So it'll be an interesting race. I mean, perhaps, even though Donald Trump has said he wants to see whoever takes that role potentially fast track his appointments, it might be a little bit risky for him to actually weigh in and name a candidate he wants to see, because yes, he could potentially influence the race, but he doesn't have a vote in it. That will be up to Senate Republicans, and were his endorsed candidate not to win, that could make him look potentially a little bit weaker. But of course, overall, Donald Trump at the moment enjoying a pretty powerful position. Won the popular vote, won the swing states. His party has taken control of the Senate and hoping to take control of the House as well.
Jessica Parker, thank you very much indeed.